Welcome back to the 99, where we're focused on brewing a better competitive commander. I'm your host, Patrick Marlett, and this is Strixhaven School of Mages, Pass or Fail, or at least it was initially slated to be that way. As I was grading the set and looking over the cards, I found out that I was handing out far too many failing grades. If you watched our previous video on Strixhaven regarding the college command spells, well, that was a pass or fail setup. This is mostly going to be whether the colors themselves are failing and or passing and how many cards are passing within those colors, just to stay on theme, that scholarly theme we set up. Now, as we go through the set, I'll be covering it in Wooburg order, so obviously white all the way to green, covering multicolored, colorless, and land spells, leaving our legendaries for last, and that is monocolored legendaries, multicolored legendaries, any legendary that is titillating from the set is going to be at the end of this video, so you have to watch to the very end. How devious am I? Or skip there. I mean, some people do that, I guess. Now guys, before we jump into this video, in case you want to help out the production here, the best way to do so, you already know the deal, is over on Patreon. Guys, your support there goes miles in the helping production cost here, and I must say, you get some of the best benefits I've seen on the market. So if you want to know what those benefits are, you have to visit the link in the description. And gang, if you want to pick up any of the cards I mentioned today, or any cards at all, use the link in the description over at TCG Player. You're going to be buying cards there anyways. And a portion of the proceeds go to help out the channel. So do so, and I thank you for it. Don't do so, and I will be very mad, and we'll have to have a talk. But guys, as with every month, there's a monthly topic to discuss, and for the month of April, what do you feel are the defining characteristics of cEDH? And that can be anything from the behavior of the players at the table to the style of the deck scene. Are there that many more infinite combos in cEDH? More than likely. But gang, hang tight to the end of this video to hear the thoughts of one of our brew crew and or masters on this very topic. And of course, I'd love to know your thoughts in the comment section down below. But before we begin this video, let me preface by stating, as I grade Strixhaven School of Mages, that all of this is coming from the superior opinion of a cEDH player. Please note that everything I say is absolute, and that you will hear no greater opinion on the internet. And with that, if I miss anything, let me know, because I am filming this the night because I wanted to include all of C21 stuff, and there isn't much to be discussing from C21, sadly. So I had to wait very much to the last minute of this review. So yes, am I recording this the morning of the day? Potentially. I just got back from vacation, guys. If I sound loopy or look loopy, that's why. Any rate, if you're new to the channel, you're like, this guy's really informal. Yeah, I know. Guys, we're going to start with white. Now, this was going to receive a failing grade initially, but I'm mentioning two cards only because one, I'm biased. Two, one of the cards is expected to be mentioned, and I just want to talk about how this is technically a fail in my book, but still an okay card. I don't think it's worth the price of pre-orders right now, and that card is Monologue Tax. Damn, did I get taxed for that monologue I just ran? Hopefully not. 2 generic, 1 white, enchantment, rare. Whenever an opponent casts their second spell, each turn you create a treasure token. Alright, what are treasure tokens? Well, they're artifacts that you can tap and produce mana of any one color. Wow. Okay, so they're artifacts, that's of value. It's ramp, that's of value. Is this a Smothering Tithe? Does this compete with Smothering Tithe? Well, Pat, it's 1 mana value less. Yes, I see that. But Smothering Tithe in the same amount of time is going to effectively net you as much mana. No one's paying the tax. No one's paying the tax on Smothering Tithe. Funny that this has the word tax in it and doesn't charge a tax. That aside, no one's paying the tax on Smothering Tithe, but everyone is using cards that say draw. So Smothering Tithe is going to produce far more treasures in the long run. Now, how important is it that you can turn 1 Monologue Tax with a Plains and a Mana Crypt? Probably not all that important. There's going to be 1 proactive list or 2 proactive lists at the table that, launch into feeding you treasures, and what are you doing with all those treasures? I think early game, this could be more competitive than a Smothering Tithe, but mid to late game, this is just mediocre. There's plenty of games where I've seen someone with a Smothering Tithe just amass a mess of tokens, and if they're in mono white in particular, they likely don't have much to do with those tokens. There's a certain point where you hit that influx of a treasure accumulation to actual value where you're just not making the mark. Like, you're gonna have all these treasures and nothing to do with it. Monologue Tax likely not gonna get there that soon because they need to cast 2 spells in a turn. This is not guaranteed ever. This is a literally 3 mana value, maybe do nothing, maybe do something card. I think that this is kind of a big fail and everyone's a little too excited about it. Quote me, direct people to this video. Make sure they comment and dislike the video. All feeds the hungry algorithm. Trust me though, Monologue Tax, don't buy it at $20+ or whatever it's going for right now. Maybe buy the set this came from, because oddly enough, the Boros C21 commander set was arguably the best one. And we'll get into why later. I think all the cards I'm mentioning from C21 in this set review happen to be from Lorehold. Don't quote me, but potentially quote me on that one. Next card, in white, I want to discuss, and the only reason I'm leaving this out of our legendary suite is because I would never recommend you play this as a legendary, but it's very good in Teshar, Lost Shield, Clockwork Scholar. You know, you can skip this bit. I'm not going to put a time signature on the screen, but maybe someone nice can do it in the comment section. It's 3 mana value, 2 generic, 1 white, legendary creature, elephant, artificer. If you don't play Teshar, all of this is irrelevant. 2/4 body. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to attacking artifact creatures you control. Great news. Whenever 1 or more artifact creatures enter the battlefield under your control, draw a card! This ability triggers only once each turn. Well, damn, you just shot Lost Shield right in his clockworking foot. But you know what? That's fine. Because what do I do in Teshar? I sacrifice things and recur things. Okay, so you can sacrifice Lost Shield. I'm fighting a sneeze. Recur Lost Shield. Use an artifact creature, Memnine Ornithopter, wham bam, thank you ma'am. I'm going to draw some cards, doesn't matter how many hit the battlefield at the same time. All I need to do is keep sacrificing Lost Shield, recurring Lost Shield, once I've established an infinite mana loop. Teshar. Teshar card? Yes. Is this a Teshar? Yes. Use it. Again, this is where you can cut the time signature or end it for people that were looking to get to the next segment, because we're moving on to blue. And blue is okay this set. It received 2 passing grades in my book on the whole. And the first one we're going to discuss, these are both just vanilla okay cards. But this first one can potentially be an outlet for a win. Archmage Emeritus. Archmage Emeritus. For 2 generic, double blue. Creature, human, wizard, 2/2 body, so weak, so frail. Pyroclasm, whip flare that boy. Magecraft, whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery, draw a card. Now, Magecraft is a new keyword from the set, and basically it's Storm on permanence, right? So there's really cute Liliana or Professor Onyx that came out from the set that does an infinite thing with Chain of Smog and other cards. But if you're wondering why Chain of Smog shot up in value, it's because of that. And are we really going to be using Professor Onyx and cEDH? Likely not. But Archmage, maybe, because whenever you cast or copy and you draw a card, well, see, what's nice about this is that I guess Narumeo would care because she's casting and copying everything. So if you have an infinite line of play established, like, you know, I do with Ragrak and Devesh, the Reiterate line of play, you can use the infinite casting, even if you just break even with a card like Reiterate into a Jessica's Will, and if you're just netting even on the buyback and the mana gain, you're still fine to draw the rest of your deck and, you know, do something that's obviously game winning. But generally speaking, when you have your whole deck in hand in a cEDH setting, you should be in a winning position. So Archmage has wings, may fly. Who knows? I don't know with certainty though that a lot of lists are going to use Archmage. I feel like it's probably going to be strictly set aside for mono blue players, and then potentially the rest of the world of maybe dual colored decks would want to try it. But otherwise, he just seems okay. I feel like I need to mention him, and I need to mention another Magecraft card simply because they do things that are considered of value for cEDH players, but I don't see people using Archmage. The next card, though, I do see people using because Search Your Library is second in value to draw. And Solve the Equation is just another way to search your library. So for 2 generic, 1 blue, sorcery speed. Oh, I'm sorry, blue. It's not instant this time. Search your library for an instant or sorcery card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. Whoa. Ooh, wait. Make sure that that person doesn't have opposition agent mana, because that would suck for you. However, Solve the Equation, Man, to tap out on your turn in the blue deck, if you do it, let's just hope that that person's going for the counterspell to ensure that their combo goes off so that they have something to do on their turn. But Solve the Equation is going to be really great for lists that need to find solutions. And most solutions in the world of cEDH happen to be sorcery and instant speed. You know, whether that be your Demonic Consultation for a manual Thassa line, your Ad Nauseam, I mentioned Naramea earlier, your Ghostly Flicker. Obviously, this isn't going to slot into every list. If you've watched this channel before, you know my thoughts and feelings on 3CMC tutors. I think they're arguably shit. But if you want to do something that's cost prohibitive and searches your library, this is the best way to do it. It's just another new search your library card. Worthy of note. Is it going to go into every list? Probably not. It's never going to be seen in 5 color, likely never in 4 color, potentially 3 color. Definitely monocolor, and yes, some of the times dual color. Solve the equation. Did we solve it? Maybe. In black. Treating this like a live stream. Your boy needs coffee. You have no idea how early this is. There's one passing grade for black. And I'm only going to mention this in the same sense that Monologue Tax needed to be mentioned, needed, quote unquote, to be mentioned. If you're new to this channel, I'm probably coming off as a dick. Let me know in the comment section. Am I coming off as a dick? I'd love to know. Baleful Mastery. The only mastery we're going to be discussing. 3 generic, 1 black, instant speed. But what if you've mastered this spell? You may pay 1 generic and 1 black rather than paying the spell's mana cost. What? If the 1 generic, 1 black cost was paid, an opponent draws a card. It's not your choice. Your opponents fight over who draws the card. You direct the person who's getting to the draw. It's phrased very oddly. Exile target creature or planeswalker. Okay, so when this came out, people are like, oh yes, another great removal spell for black. I'm like, no, it's 4 CMC, and every list that contains black, it by and large is trying to run Ad Nauseam, right? So like 95% of the lists that see this are gonna be like, well shit, that's another 4 CMC spell that's gonna hurt my life total when I'm running Ad Nauseam. That's 1/10 of your health. Is that the math? Is that the math? No, it's not one. Is that right? Yeah. Doesn't matter. I'm not a mathematician. I didn't apply for Quandrix, okay? Baleful Mastery. Why would you use this? Because people are like, well, when they go to Thassa's Oracle and they Demonic Consultation, you can wham bam slam this against their Thassa's Oracle. Like, I exile Thassa's Oracle and I make you draw a card. Well, I mean, that's cute. Yeah, you could do that. Are we really considering at this point, are we really considering letting opponents draw a card as a good thing? Thassa's Oracle might be the most prevalent strategy in cEDH, but that doesn't make giving your opponents a draw a good thing. Ever. Okay. Baleful Mastery. Best black card from the set. Only one noteworthy. You got him. You got the Thassa's player. But here's my recommendation. Never run cards for a singular strategy. Never run a card to combat a singular line of play, because if you're doing that, you're narrowing your ability to effectively stop and or hinder and or interact with other lists. So Baleful Mastery, well yes, it might be fantastic against the Thassa Oracle play, it's a shit card. Deadly Rollick, have you heard of it? Because the alternative cost on that, shit, you feel like you've mastered the game. I have to play my commander and I do that for free? Seems better. Mind you, you're also hitting planeswalkers here, and Tevesh is fairly relevant. Maybe you see an Oko, maybe you see a 3 fairy, maybe you see a Jessica. Jessica's usually trying to win when she drops. That's it for Baleful Mastery. Let me know your thoughts. Did I miss anything on Baleful Mastery? Is there some like core strategy that I'm missing? Okay, we're moving on to red. Now red gets 3 passing grades. 3 passing grades. Red gets technically 2. One is extremely meme worthy. And you know what? We were doing this in alphabetical order if you were keeping track, but we're going to break order here simply to go over the meme worthy card. Yes, I'm sure this has been beaten to death, but if you're watching this set review, you need to know my thoughts. Dragon's Approach, right? Q Dragon Attack by Queen. 2 generic, 1 red, sorcery speed. Dragon's Approach deals 3 damage to each opponent. Blam! Lightning Bolt. You may exile Dragon's Approach and 4 cards named Dragon's Approach from your graveyard. So that is a total of 5 Dragon Approaches. If you do search your library for a dragon creature card, put it onto the battlefield and shuffle your library. What dragon are you getting, Pat? No, wait. You can't have more than a deck can have any number of cards named Dragon's Approach. What? We broke the rules in Commander. Ah. Okay, so Dragon's Approach. What dragon do you get? I don't care. Pick a dragon. I don't care what dragon you get. The idea here is to use this with a card called Thrumming Stone. I'm gonna have to pull that up because you know what? I think it gives cards Ripple. Yeah, Ripple is the name of the effect. 5 generic legendary artifacts. Spells you control have Ripple, which means it's essentially like a cascade effect for same named cards. But whenever you play a spell, you may reveal the top 4 cards of your library. You may play any revealed cards with the same name as the spell without paying their mana cost. Put the rest on the bottom of your library. Play obviously has been eroded to cast. And you may cast these spells. So when you cast a spell, the ripple effect triggers. So you can do this technically, not infinitely. This is not an infinite combo. At a certain point, you're going to run through your entire list, and you know, there's no more to be set, unless you know you might not hit the ripple, is what I'm saying. But if you did, I guess you could go infinite. Your opponents die at some point. But the goal here is to have 8 CMC worth of mana and then to cast your Thrumming Stone and then lead that into a Dragon's Approach. Failing grade. However, yeah, you can do that, and it's like, it's a thing. And you know what? I might even want to try that. Should we make that a cold brew? What dragon should be approaching? 1. What legendary should be manning the helm of this Dragon Approach deck? It just sounds so rock and roll that how can I not? It gets a passing grade. Dragon's Approach gets a passing grade. So yeah, 3 passing grades. The real card to talk about, though, and I think this is the last C21 card, my god, is Cursed Mirror. I waited all this time for this to be the best card. And it's really good. So 2 generic, 1 red, artifact, add 1 red. Okay, so it's a 3 mana rock. Pat, what a why would you ever run a 3 mana rock in cEDH? As Cursed Mirror enters the battlefield, you may have it become a copy of any creature on the battlefield until end of turn, except it has haste. Now, I want to start with any creature on the battlefield. Doesn't need to be your creature. This is Heat Shimmer. This is Heat Shimmer artifact. This is artifact. We can recur it with our Goblin Welder. It's 3 CMC. We can recur it with our Goblin Engineer. You're starting to see that there are actual lines of play here. Oh, in Godo, this is extremely good. Because we can manipulate this with the Goblin Welders of the world, all that shit. We can manipulate this with our Dockside Extortionist. We can manipulate this with an opposing Dockside Extortionist and simply get the requisite mana to do the thing. Obviously, this is more than just a Godo card. This is a good card. This is a really good card. This seems like it's rare worthy. Wow. Congratulations, C21. You made one. You made one decent card. And this one's not even $20+. If you're looking to pick up Monologue Tax, do so in the link in the description, but I'm going to ask you to refrain because it's a stupid card. This is a good card. This is good stupid. Monologue Tax is just stupid. This is good stupid, though. Cursed Mirror. Damn, I've never wanted to be choked out harder. Good job. All right, we're moving on. Last red card I want to mention, and this is Archmage Emeritus territory here. I'm mentioning it because I have to mention it. Stormkiln Artist. For 3 generic 1 red, creature dwarf shaman, 2/2 body, Stormkiln Artist gets +1/+0 for each artifact you control. You get big. Magecraft, whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, create a treasure. Okay, so is this good? Yeah, it's good. Is it Bergy good? That's the real question, right? That's what's weighing on everyone's mind. Now, I want to mention that Bergy doesn't operate off of copying spells. And there's a lot of copy effects in both blue and red. So there's that. I wouldn't say that... So Bergy has the ability to whenever you cast spells, produce 1 red mana. So it's a little limited in what you're actually able to cast with the red mana. Obviously, if you're using Birgi as your commander, then Birgi is better because red is good in a mono red list. However, treasures are generally good in a wider variety of lists. So there's that. There's the pros and cons there. However, on the back end of Birgi, and I mean literally the back end, there is a card value engine. So, you know, she gets the leg up in that regard. They're close. Stormkiln Artist, though, again, with any sort of reiterate line of play, any mass copy line of play, you're making infinite mana. Now, if that mass copy line of play is there to produce infinite mana, well, then Stormkilled Artist is kind of irrelevant. You're not really going to push towards having Stormkilled Artist. You're never going to tutor this guy. Is it ever going to be a priority for your list? Likely not. Likely not. But that's red in a nutshell. Moving on. Green. Oh boy. The biggest failure of them all. Green in the set receives a failing grade. Not a singular card of note for me to mention to you to purchase in the link via TCG Player. Sadly, I can't recommend you spend money for the channel on anything from Green. However, if you want to buy all the green cards out, because they're likely going to be pennies, use the link in the description. That's the best way to do it. Green definitely gets a failing grade here. Sadly, it's not the greatest color from the set. However, it did receive my favorite card that's multicolored. So we're going to move straight on to multicolor here. Again, colorless lands, and then we're going to talk about the big boys, all the legendaries. And we're going to start with my favorite multicolored spell, Culling Ritual. Ho damn. Whew. It's literally, it does exactly what it says. 2 generic, 1 black, 1 green, Golgari. Sorcery speed. Destroy each non-land permanent with mana value 2 or less. Okay. Add black or green for each permanent destroyed this way. Wait, you punish them, you punish you masochist you, and you ramp. Oh boy. So, do I like this card? Yeah, I like this card. Why do I like this card? Well, think about the starting phases of a game of Magic, right? Commander in particular. Everyone's like, you know, Soul Ring and the Arcane Signet. I got my Mana Crypt, haha. Oh, I'm gonna do my Mana Vaults, and I'm gonna play a Dork, and I'm gonna do all these things that are 2 CMC and under. As a matter of fact, the rest of the game, permanent-wise, is likely gonna be 2 CMC and under, unless they've got a handful of stacks pieces that are 3 or over. Duly note, that's of benefit for you, and or they have commanders that are 3 CMC or over. Generally speaking, if you look at the curve of most cEDH lists, permanents lie 3 CMC and under. So you're going to hit 2/3 of the permanent suite of any one commander deck. So you're going to annihilate the tables of many a player. Your Rhystic Study, or not your Rhystic Study, your Mystic Remora, excuse me, your Mystic Remora into your Sylvan Library, into your Wild Growth. I see that land over there. There's a ton of things you hit, and then you just ramp into recasting your commander, or recasting, or just simply casting big-ass, bomby-ass spells from your hand. Well, what list is this really going to benefit? Can someone say Belby for me? So guys, if you are a fan of Belby, guess what? She loves Culling Ritual. So Belby, if you haven't watched my most recent deck tech on the girl, she's fantastic because she just runs a bunch of big bomby ass spells. She doesn't care if you use Baleful Mastery because she's just not on Ad Nauseam. She's not on anything, Life as a Resource, Dark Confidant, My Life Total Matters. She doesn't care if you destroy her or anything else on your board state. But also bear in mind that a lot of your stacks pieces in that list are 3 CMC and up. So yeah, keep your Trinity Sphere and then ramp the shit out of your Ugin and then watch the board fucking waver. So the fact that they need to bow down to a singular Planeswalker. And then with that Planeswalker, destroy the rest of the stuff. Destroy all the things if you want, should you choose. Except for your Trinity Sphere, right? Because that's safe. It is a colorless item. So yeah, Culling Ritual is great. Culling Ritual is great. Watch the most recent Belby deck tech. You'll understand why I'm glowing about this. But this plays perfectly into her strategy as a board wipe. And if there's any Golgari commander that you can think of that wants to wipe a cEDH board clean and ramp, well then Culling Ritual. This is the card. Buy a copy. Just own a copy. Own a copy. Because 1, it's not as expensive as Monologue Tax. And 2, you're going to use it in some list. This is surprisingly the best board wipe from this set, and it's in Witherbloom. I'll call it what it actually is. What it is from the set. It's Witherbloom. And also the art's amazing. So even if you don't use it, frame it, put it on the wall, tell your kids about it one day, and just say, Pat sent you. Pat told me to get this art piece because it's good. There's even a full art version, I think. Anyway, moving on. Oh boy, the joys of 2 mana value spells. They just came in droves this set. If it could be done at 2 mana value, they did it. And Deadly Brew is another one of those cards. This is subjective. I'm mentioning this as a passing grade, and there are 9 passing grades for multicolored spells here. I'm mentioning this as a passing grade because it's good. It's really good disruption. Sorcery speed. Each player sacrifices a creature or planeswalker. If you sacrifice a permanent this way, you may return another permanent from your graveyard to your hand. What? Okay, so crack that lotus petal. Crack that jeweled lotus. Crack that LED. Maybe not the LED, but you get what I'm saying. Provided you have a permanent in your graveyard. I don't know. I guess a Verdant Catacombs. Is that the fetch land? Yeah, it's the fetch land. Arid Mesa, whatever. Grab your fetch land. What's nice about this kind of disruption, especially early game, mind you, right? So at this point, again, most people are just trying to ramp and get mana on the board so that they can play out their bigger spells, generally instant sorcery commanders, and start working on a winning game plan. So, some person ramps into their Timna, some person ramps into their Crom, oh joy, and then another person, I don't know, they have a Arbor Elf. That's the best they could do. You're dealing with mono green. Okay. I see you, Marwin. I see you, Savala. You're trying. Well, unfortunately, Deadly Brew is going to say, nah, get rid of that shit. I'll get rid of my Llanowar Elves, you get rid of your Timna, you get rid of your Crom, sorry, and your Arbor Elves. Is that what I said that person had? Arbor Elf is gone. And in the What's More department, I may retrieve another permanent from my graveyard. So provided there was another permanent in my graveyard, I get that back. So at any stage of the game, this is excellent recovery, because from graveyard to hand, any permanent is pretty wide spanning, right? So if someone removed your Sylvan Library from earlier, I'm just thinking within green, you can grab your Sylvan Library, right? The Culling Ritual, Sylvan Library, play illustrated. You're like, nah, Deadly Brew, baby, Deadly Brew. You get it back. This is really interesting value. It's going to be limited, honestly, to Golgari Witherbloom. Like, you're not going to want to use this in many a list, but this is really good disruption. You can't discredit, a singular target. I'm going to mislabel this. You can't discredit a card that affects every player. It's not targeting. People have the choice to sacrifice one creature over another. But again, early stages, it's mostly going to be, in a cEDH setting in particular, it's mostly going to be like one creature, and it's likely their commander, and their commander's likely drawing them cards or some nonsense. Okay, so, Deadly Brew, I like it. Do I love it? Potentially. Am I going to try it? Yes. In Belby? I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe Belby. If I have 6 CMC Ugin down, yes, Belby. Next card. We are in... what is this color for this set again? It's not Prismari. It is Simic. Name the Simic school. I really don't care about blue. Decisive Denial. Instant speed. Choose one. It's going to hit me while we're doing this. Target creature you control fights. Target creature you don't control. Bam. Fight mechanic. Excellent. Creature removal. Love it. Is your creature a dinosaur with enrage? Trigger it. I don't know. Likely not. Counter target non-creature spell unless its controller pays 3. So you get them on both ends. You're like, nah, you can have the creature because I'll remove the creature. Or, no, I said you can have the creature, but you can't have the ad nauseum. And I don't know why people from this school sound like this. Quandrix. Quandrix. Quandrix is Simic. I even said Quandrix. Didn't I? At any rate. One of these schools that I've been forgetting. Silverquill, Witherbloom, Quandrix, Prismari, Lorehold. For 2 CMC instant speed counterspell that hits everything but creatures, this is pretty solid tax counters / removal for the game. I like this card. I like this card a lot. You should consider picking one up because they're going to be cents. They're going to be cents. And speaking of Quandrix, because you know I gotta talk about Double Major. Green-blue instant speed. Copy target creature spell you control. So this is a spell on the stack. It could be anything. Could it be legendaries? Except it isn't legendary if the spell is legendary. So yes, it can be legendary. I mentioned Godo earlier. Bam! Godo on the stack. Copy Godo. Trigger. Hammer of Nazan. It's almost like I've seen Godo play. Double Major. You copy anything. Obviously, that's one chance scenario. I don't know what list is running a Shell Godo. But hey, if you run a list with a Shell Godo, Essica in the Valley of the Wind, is that her name? Double Major. Get that girl on track for a Double Major. Don't worry about the debt. Hopefully debt forgiveness plans in the States will just wipe that off your slate. Otherwise, you're going to be screwed. You got a lot to pay off, girl. Or guy. Double Major, it seems pretty good. Now, the only thing with this is that it copies only things that you control on the stack. It would be great if you could steal value from opposing players. It's not that good. So that's why it's not mythic rare. However, for 2 CMC, or 2 mana value as some say, this is really decent at doubling down on any creature you might be casting. Now the thing is, in these colors, there aren't that many great value creatures I can think of outside of like a Spell Seeker might be the coolest thing that you can copy on the stack. A Phantasmal Image to double down on someone else's value, right? However, green creatures... Primeval Titan, is that one? Oh, you can't do prime time. What's another fun green creature that's not banned? Nothing I can really think of. Craterhoof Behemoth? I don't know, do you have the mana for that afterwards? It needs to be on the stack though, so you can't cheat these things out. I guess that's the more relevant part here. Like, you can't natural order a Craterhoof Behemoth onto the battlefield and hope to copy it to double down on Craterhoof triggers. You're not gonna be able to do that. So Double Major is somewhat limited in these colors and might expand better into other colors, but at that point, are you really considering using Double Major unless you have a niche commander that can value off of some combo with it? Likely not. However, it is a passing grade for the effectiveness to mana value of this card. Okay, that's it. That's it for all of the Quandrix cards, I'm pretty sure. Moving on, Expressive Iteration, Prismari. We got a lot of multicolored spells to talk about, and we haven't even gone to the good ones. Culling Ritual. Yes, but... Sorcery Speed. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. You may put one of them into your hand, put one of them onto the bottom of your library, and exile one of them. You may play the exiled card this turn. So, Pad, why is this good? Why do you think this is good? I don't know. How many 2 mana value spells in these colors is it, or Prismari? How many 2 mana value spells say draw 2? Because that's effectively what this is saying to me. The card I exile is effectively a draw. It's a, what are we calling red's draw? Impulse drawing? It's an impulse draw. You get to scry one of these cards, you get to look at 3 cards. So not only is it replacing itself, it's card value. You get to look at the 3 cards from the top of your deck. And lastly, I can play a land that I've exiled. I can cast a spell that I've exiled. Everyone gets to note what the exiled card is. It doesn't say exile it face down. It just goes into the exile zone. But how many cards let you draw 2 effectively in these colors? None. None. Unless it's like a loot or maybe a rummage effect, right? But then you're also losing value. So this is pay 2, net 2. That's really good in my opinion. That's actually very good. At Sorcery Speed, I know some people are going to complain that this is less potent as some of your instant speed card value cards, but this lets you do more than most of them. So I like this a whole lot. I think this is a fantastic card. Is it going to fit into every colored list? No, it's likely going to be delegated strictly to Izzet Prismari commanders, but if you are playing an Izzet Prismari, this is a really good card, especially if you were to double this or copy this, like dig 6 and then draw 2, play 2 from exile. That's just really good value. Very good value. So Expressive Iteration, bear that in mind. Another uncommon, pennies to purchase. Pennies for daddy. Fracture. Now, Fracture. Oh my god. This is easily my favorite piece of removal from the set, because damn did Orzhov need decent removal at instant speed. So for Silver Quill, white, black, instant speed. Destroy target, and I think I asked this in a community poll, or I will after this. Are you going to go on to saying college names if you're new to Commander, or rather new to Magic in general? You likely will. Or are you going to say the guild names? Guild or college? Which are you more for? Because I keep messing that up. This video, if you've been watching all the way through this, you'll notice that. Instant speed. Destroy target artifact, enchantment, or planeswalker. Oh boy, let me just think of all the menacing artifacts, enchantments, and planeswalkers. How many combos are based off of artifacts, enchantments? A majority of them. Now, there's a handful of things that are really good, like the Thassa's Oracle line. That's only concerned about triggers, right? But there's a lot of really great combo lines and just value pieces that happen to be artifacts and enchantments. Oh, and planeswalkers, damn. With the prevalence, the rising prevalence of planeswalkers in Commander, the back end of this card is getting, and I just mean and I mean that little bit of ladder text, is so important. Because the more planeswalkers that are being printed as this can be your commander, the more planeswalkers that are being evaluated highly for Commander, being seen in Commander, are left unchecked for the most part. Unless someone has like a Chain of Vapor or something to bounce permanents, like non-land permanents, there aren't that many ways to deal with planeswalkers as in hard removal. And Fracture not only hits 2 extremely valid targets, but a 3rd growing target. In a color that desperately needed decent 2 mana value removal spells, at instant speed in particular. So do I like this card? A whole heck of a lot. Are planeswalkers going to be more relevant in the future? Likely. They deserve to be more relevant now. There's some really good value ones that I don't frequently see played. Like Oko, if you happen to be in Quandrix, well, you should probably be running Oko because the card is stupid. And you're just going to get away with it because no one's going to have anything for your Oko other than the elks you're giving them. Fracture removes that. Obviously, I play a lot of Tevesh. I'm going to build more Tevesh. This removes Tevesh. No questions asked. You just do it. I like Fracture a whole heck of a lot, and I definitely think you should consider picking up a copy at least. It's fantastic removal in Orzhov. Needed to happen. Thank goodness it happened. Okay, moving on. Rip Apart. For Boros or Lorehold, you pick. Sorcery, choose one. You also get to pick. Rip Apart deals 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker. I like that they're extending the planeswalker text. You know, they're realizing like, man, we're making a lot of planeswalkers, aren't we? Should we come up with more ways to deal with them? Thank you. Or destroy target artifact or enchantment. So this sounds very familiar to a card called Braid. Braid is 1 generic, 1 red, instant speed. You could do 3 damage to a target creature and or destroy target artifact. So this does the same, but 4 things instead. You can hit enchantments or planeswalkers now. However, this is sorcery speed. This fits into more lists. It's less mana intensive. And I mean to say that you can use 1 of anything plus red to do that, where this is requiring that you have red and white. And who the hell has white lands on the battlefield? Unless you're mono white. Are you crazy? Save the savannah. Get yourself something else. Rip Apart is brilliant removal in these colors. I'm not sure it's going to spread the gap between it being seen strictly in Boros and or being played in multicolored lists. I think people are going to evaluate this highly and use it initially, and it might be slotted in for now, but it might be removed later because sorcery is pretty damning on this. However, in these colors, you can likely get away with sorcery speed spells. It's not like many other colors have things to do off turn outside of blue and black with Ad Nauseam if you're still doing Ad Nauseam off turn, because the decks these days, it doesn't matter if you do it main phase 1. So yeah, does it matter if you're in these colors, sans blue, casting a sorcery speed spell? Likely not. But most of the best interaction is at instant speed. So you just need to ask yourself that question, like in your play group, in your meta, is it relevant that this is instant as opposed to sorcery? That's really the only, divide between these two. Like the thing that's holding this back is its casting speed. So with 2 more valid targets, is this better? It doesn't even have to be better. Is it on the same, playing field at all? Rip Apart's a hard one to evaluate. I'll say that I'm not going to pick up a copy because I'm likely not going to use this. I'm likely not. I don't have that many. I have some Mardu list in the works, which you haven't seen, but I probably will put this in there if anything. But it's likely to be removed. It's sad to say. Instant speed is just too relevant for cEDH. But let me know your thoughts on Rip Apart in the comment section down below. What list you're running it in? Do you evaluate this far more highly than a Braid? A Braid has sort of become a staple in the cEDH community, particularly if you're in red, obviously. But moving on, we've got a card that's very similar to a card that was just released in Coldheim, Dual Strike, but it reads much more like Double Cast. So, Teach by Example. Teach by Example for Is It, or Prismari, you choose. Instant speed. When you cast your next instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. Well, guess what? Something that red did for a long time, blue's getting a little taste of. I'm sure blue probably has some iteration of this, but again, this is essentially double cast, but I would say that blue defines this as instant. I'll leave double cast on the screen. It reads the same way. So basically, why would you want to do this? Why would you want to run this spell? How is this spell good? So the only unfortunate bit with Teach by Example is that it's not like a Forker, it's not like a Reverberate where you get to copy a spell on the stack, which I evaluate far more highly than spells like this. Because let's just say that I go for my Ad Nauseam, right? Ad Nauseam, which is a very big, important instant speed spell. And, you know, no one really plays it, but sometimes you see it. I go for my Ad Nauseam, and someone runs a counterspell into it, whether it be Flusterstorm, who gives a damn, it could be anything. And I will say, Fork. I have a red version of Ad Nauseam. Your Flusterstorm can resolve, I don't care. Do I get Ad Nauseam? Do I get Fork? If that happens, then, you know, you're in like Flynn, you're good. However, Teach by Example, to do the same thing or a similar thing, you need to cast this first and announce that the next thing I do, is going to be doubled. So you can cast Ad Nauseam into that, delayed trigger, you get the delayed trigger on the stack. Do you want to hold priority? Do you want to pass priority? People can respond to this, but they know that you're going to have two of these virtually when it happens. So the best thing to do would be to let the, you know, trigger on Teach by Example resolve. You have the two Ad Nauseams, and then their Flusterstorm is just superior, right? However, I do want to mention this because it is another 2 CMC variant of this spell, however, at instant speed. So it may have value in certain lists, like if you're trying to double down on ramp, like a Jessica's Will, this could be very, very valuable. I say that this has more play mid to late game than it does early game, obviously. And also, it's because it's spells that you cast. Like a Fork and a Reverberate have so much more play early game because I could steal value from anyone. I could just say Fork your Demonic Tutor, and I feel really great about that. Teach by Example, unfortunately, it's exactly as it says. You need to lead by example. So casting spells into this is the name of the game. However, it's another one to note. Put in your back pocket. These spells are still good. They're still strong. These types of effects, rather, but a very particular list. Oh boy. Remember when I was just talking about Fracture? Like, that card's good. And I evaluate that very highly. Like, I like that card a whole lot. Orzhov needed it. And Orzhov needed this. Vanishing Verse. For white-black, instant speed, exile target mono-colored permanent. Do you guys remember when Anguished Unmaking was like the go-to card for Orzhov? Not anymore. Strixhaven just turned that shit on its head. And if you don't know what Anguished Unmaking is, the art's really great. There's a promo art of it as well. It's generic Orzhov, so 3 CMC. And we all know 3 CMC, not where you want to be in cEDH. It's got to be 2 and under, baby. 2 and under. I can't play 3 CMC. Although if I am forced, Beast Within, right? The generous gift, Anguished Unmaking, I'll likely have to do that. Anguished Unmaking is instant speed. You can exile a non-land permanent and you lose 3 life, something like that. However, Vanishing Verse, for 2 mana value, exile target mono-colored permanent. Well, that's about every damned thing I can think about that concerns me in cEDH. And bear in mind that this is not, it's mono-colored permanent. It doesn't care about your deck's color identity. So if someone has a Sisay, the mono-white Sisay, and yes, she's mono-white, she just happens to have an ability with colored pips in its cost, right? Same thing with Najeela. Najeela is established as a 5-color commander, but she's mono-colored. So like you can hit these commanders. Okay, what else can you hit? I can hit everything else that's of value on the battlefield. There are not that many 2-colored permanents I can think of that people run that are super relevant outside of a handful of commanders. Like a Crom being on the battlefield sucks sometimes. It's really just there as a beater and eventual draw. That's important. A Sterling Grove, if you're like me. Did you watch my Hidden Gems multicolored video? Yeah, I love that card. Well, you can hit that with Vanishing Verse, so all my shit's still gonna have Hexproof, right? Or Shroud. One or the other. Vanishing Verse, really good at 2 mana value. Gone are the days of Anguish and Making. We have Fracture and Vanishing Verse. Slot those into your Orzhov list. If you're playing Silver Quill, slot those into your Silver Quill list. I'm imagining that these are going to drop once the set releases. So, hang tight for the pre-release, hang tight for your sealed event, see if you get some of these, but if not, wait a week or 2 and then purchase these. I'll be losing out on some money, but if you use the link in the description. All right, moving on. That's it for the multicolored spells. There were a lot of multicolored spells to cover, and I'm glad we did. I'm glad you and I did, because it was worth it. There's some pretty gas multicolored spells from this set. So if you need to update your list, a ton of them, particularly Silver Quill. But can we say Belby Bait? Oh, wait. Can we say Belby Bait? What does that mean, Pat? What? It is the best Stacks commander in Golgari. Because she gets to cast spells like this on turn 2. Wandering Archaic for 5 generic and have mana to spare. Soul Ring, anyone? Soul Ring? 4/4 body, creature avatar. Whenever an opponent casts an instant or sorcery spell, they may pay 2. Now, initially when I read this, I thought it said you may pay 2, and I'm like, oh, this isn't good. But they may pay 2. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that's really good, because if they don't, you may copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. Holy what? Did you what? I get to copy that spell. Okay, so your Demonic Tutor just became 4 CMC. Is it cool if I get it? Is it cool if I get that? Your counterspell got a whole heck of a lot worse. Do you remember Wandering Archaic's down? Do you want my spell to resolve? Because I'll copy your shit. This is so good. This is meant to be like the counter to all of the like Magecraft shenanigans that happen in this set. But obviously this plays very well into Commander because, well, damn, there are 3 people that have attacks of 2 on all of their instant and sorcery spells. And if they don't deal with your shit, you're going to copy all their removal. You're going to copy all their search effects. You're going to copy all their card quality effects. The person using Brainstorm is not going to want to pay 2 extra. They're going to let you do the shit. They're going to let you do the shit. And what's great about Wandering Archaic, I mentioned Belby, because Belby, the ideal turn 2, you tap that pinger, you have 6 generic floating. Well, Wandering Archaic is instantaneously the biggest threat on the board, which is not good for you, but it's hard to deal with. It's very hard to deal with. So, I love this card. I really like this card. Is it for every list? I'm not going to say yes to that, but 5 CMC is not really a big ask for what this is doing. Obviously, it's begging to be removed, because if it's not, it's very hard to storm into. It's very hard to deal with elsewise, because you're going to give not only, if this remains, right, the person who's trying to storm off, this person's going to have a solution for your problem, or this person might have a solution for your problem. And the Wandering Archaic, well, guess what? They're not going to want to pay 2 when they're driving a counterspell into your shit. They're going to be like, no, help me out. And at no cost to you, you can help out the board with a convoluted board state and or when someone's trying to win, right? This is really good when someone's trying to pop off, because your opponents, as I've mentioned in a previous video, happen to be resources. And now they're additional resources. Now, before we move on, I know it's an MDFC. Don't even tell me about the back end of this card, okay? We're not gonna talk about the back end of this card. I'm not gonna read it off today. I've already closed out the window. It's not happening. Don't make me talk about the back end of that card. It's not why the card will be valued highly. However, moving on to our legendaries, lands. Okay, pass. The lands got a passing grade. We just finished off a set of lands in this set. I believe they're called reveal lands. You have to show a land of the relevant subtype from your hand for the land to come into play untapped. Is it good? No, you never really see these lands in cEDH because odds are likely that these will come into play tapped, more oftentimes than not. And yes, you might have a dual land with a relevant typing. That's oftentimes not the case, and most lists don't run that many basics unless they're monocolored. So are these reveal lands going to be very good in cEDH setting? No, but I guess I should mention them. They're there. The complete set. You've completed your collection, and enjoy, rejoice, tell your friends. Blex. Okay, we're moving on. Blex, Vexing Pest. All right, and I'm not high on this, but I know people are excited about it. It's another one of those cards I feel I should mention, but 2 generic, 1 green, legendary creature pest, other pest, bats, insects, snakes, rats, trolls, spiders, goblins, orcs, and elves you control get +1/+1. Super irrelevant. Even if I read that correctly, doesn't matter. When Blex, Vexing Pest dies, you gain 4 life. Well, if you have a life matters strategy in green, they might have missed a mark. It's weird that green in the world of Strixhaven, Witherbloom cares about life gain, and that's like a mechanic, like it plays into mechanics. It's just, you'd think that they would relegate that to white. Although, you know, with how much people dislike white getting life gain, I guess they're like, well, we still need to do life gain. Just give it to green. Give it to green. Green does life gain, right? Yeah, green does life gain occasionally. But yeah, you get to gain life. That's cool. I mean, it's going to be good in a separate situation outside of Commander. However, Blex, on its back end, this is why I'm mentioning it. This is the only reason it matters in Commander. Sorcery speed for 2 generic double black. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may put any number of them into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. You lose 3 life for each card you put into your hand this way. Don't get out of hand. Just grab what you need. Now, why is this good? Why are people excited? So if you don't know, with MDFCs, you can choose, as you're putting it on the stack, you can choose which side of the card you are going to be playing. And because Blex happens to be the top side of this MDFC, it's a legendary creature you can put in the command zone. And provided you have infinite black mana or infinite mana of any color, you are able to search for Blex infinitely, right? You can just cast this as many times as you want until you've filled up your graveyard and you've selected a handful of cards from your list. So this is going to require infinite black mana minimum, as well as enough life to get you maybe a reanimate spell, to put a necrotic ooze in hand. Where am I going with this? Maybe get an animate aura, maybe get your, you know, autumn veil, summer's veil, whatever sort of protection you need going into this turn. And then you'll go to cast necrotic ooze. And then you'll combo off with necrotic ooze. Okay, so you can do, I had to stop and think about this for a second, because you did necrotic ooze, you would want like an Eldrazi shuffler to put all the cards you're shuffling into your graveyard back into your library, and then so you can sort of hand pick what you need while filling up your deck again, right? You get your Buried Alive in hand, and then you bury alive a Phyrexian Devourer with a Triskelion or a Walking Ballista or whatever. So that's one line of play. You can run a Buried Alive or Entomb and double down on the Entomb. Maybe you put an Eternal Witness in hand. You have infinite mana at this point, hopefully green. You can do that. Entomb, the 2 things you need for Necrotic Ooze. Grab a few Reanimate spells to ensure that you get and land Necrotic Ooze, even if it's countered or it dies. Miraculously, they somehow are able to pull off something split second to stop you. All right, you can do that. Or you can use Blex's ability to search your library and just hand pick a combo. Like you can do Machias Triskelion. This is age old. It's something that Golgari does very well. Just manually cast those. Again, if you have infinite black mana, you can do Machias Triskelion. There's that, right? And then you wouldn't have to run the Eldrazi Shuffler or anything that shuffles your library back into your deck, like a Felden's Cane or, I don't know. There's something there. Blex, again, I'm only mentioning it because people are building for it. Is the front end of Blex good? No. You can Birthing Pod Blex into Necrotic Ooze. There's that. Get him off the field if you played him. Yeah, let me know. Are you building Blex? What are the Blex combo lines? Did I miss anything super relevant? I don't know. Blex seems okay. I feel like there are probably better lists. In particular, this set has a really solid commander for infinite mana, so we'll talk about him in a second. But Blex, yeah, that's Blex. And here's the next card I want to talk about. Cody, Vociferous Codex. Now, for 3 generic legendary artifact creature constructs, you can't cast 1/4 body. You can't cast permanent spells. Now, this only operates if Cody's on the battlefield, so don't worry, you can still put permanent spells in your list. You may pay for, tap it, add Wooburg. So, Cody is 5 colors. What? The best colorless commander? No. He's He's 5 colors. When you cast your next spell this turn, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile an instant or sorcery card with lesser mana value. Okay, so it needs to be under the mana value of the card. So if I cast Ad Nauseam, it has to be 4 or under. Until end of turn, you may cast that card without paying its mana cost. So until the end of turn, you're able to cast it from exile. Put each other card exiled this way on the bottom of your library in a random order. So shuffle it up, baby. Now, I'm going to refrain from giving you my thoughts on Cody because I happen to be doing a cold brew on Cody this week, this coming week as I'm recording this, but this week that you might be viewing this, Tuesday, 6 p.m. sharp Eastern Standard Time. I'm not going to figure out the GMT for you. Just check online. It's not too difficult. Yeah, I'm going to be brewing this live. This will be the first blue deck I've brewed on the channel. Am I excited for it? Kind of. I really like transmogrify polymorph strategies. I'm a sucker for this strategy. So when I see a commander that plays really well into that strategy, I have to. Now I know that there are probably Cody builds already at this point. I'm not looking at them. I don't want to taint my perception of Cody because I already know. Will it actually be a better Cody Vociferous Codex? Maybe yes, maybe no. But I'm extremely anxious to just try the strategy line I have in mind. So I'm excited to talk about Cody. Cody is a good card. I think Cody's the most interesting legendary from the set and probably the best one to build for. You're in 5 colors. It's building itself. The list is very easy to assemble, and I'm very excited to do it with you all live. So tune into that cold brew this coming Tuesday. It's going to be a fun time, if anything. And maybe I'll play it on a play test. Who knows? You could see me play a blue deck. Wouldn't that be cool? Yeah. Play cube with me, and you'll see me play blue all the time. All right, Dina, Soul Steeper. Is that Earl Grey? No. She's Golgari, legendary creature, Dryad Druid. Whenever you gain life, each opponent loses life. What? Oh my god. Isn't that Veto? It's like Veto? No, it's like, does it combo with Sanguine Blood? No, combos with Exquisite Blood. Oh my god. The infinite combo. Guys, that's... Yes, it works like that. You can combo this with Exquisite Blood. Exquisite Blood, is that what it's called? Very expensive black card. Pay 1. Sacrifice another creature. Dina, Soul Steeper, gets +X+O until end of turn, where X is the sacrificed creature's power. Did you just say Protean Hulk? Am I making... She's going to get +6 commander damage? Nah, who gives a shit about that? You have a way to sacrifice a Protean Hulk to set up Protean Hulk lines of play, which in Golgari are kind of shitty. Right? You're going to run a lot of shitty cards. And you have a combo with Exquisite Blood. And she's a 1/3, so big old butt on this girl. And she's less than Veto and does more than Veto. So if you got excited about Veto, get excited about Dina. Another list that builds itself. It's going to use all the typical Golgari lines of play for a Protean Hulk. Just look at Protean Hulk. You know, I'm not going to do this for you. This video is probably running long. Okay. Dina, I'm not excited about her. She is something you can do, though, in Golgari. Play Belby instead. Just look at the Belby list. We're moving on, because I want to talk about my main squeeze, Extus, Auric Overlord. For one generic, 1 white, double black, legendary creature, human warlock, 2/4 booty. Join me for the dawn of a new age. Double strike, Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, return target non-legendary creature card from your graveyard to your hand. What? Can someone say ramp? So if you, let me get this straight. If I cast my Dockside Extortionist, and I Culling the Weak my Dockside Extortionist as an additional cost, sacrifice a creature. Well, I Culling the Weak my Dockside Extortionist. Can Extus bring back a non-legendary creature from my graveyard to my hand, like Dockside? Yes, it can. So, yeah, so if you do like an Infernal Plunge, or you do anything that, you do a Diabolic Intent, right, into Extus, Extus will let you sacrifice any creature. It could just be any ETBer, but Dockside is the first thing to come to mind. This is cEDH anyways. Dockside gets killed. Then we put the spell on the stack, and before we ever check priority again, were there any triggers that occurred? Oh, Extus triggered. So, okay, trigger goes on the stack. What do I want to target? This Dockside I just tucked away, right? That's pretty cool. So there's a little narrative there. He's telling us an interesting story. Does it have to do with the new age? Tell me more. I'd love to find out. Well, on the back end, this is the new age he was speaking of, okay? Awaken the Blood Avatar. Oh my god. 8 mana pad. Are you crazy? Who's ever going to be able to cast this? 6 generic Rakdos. That's right, it's Rakdos. Sorcery speed. As additional cost to cast this spell, you may sacrifice any number of creatures. This spell costs 2 less to cast for each creature sacrificed this way. Okay. Each opponent sacrifices a creature. Create a 3/6 black and red avatar creature token with haste. And whenever this creature attacks, it deals 3 damage to each opponent. Can someone say infinite mana outlet and not in a bullshitty way like Blex? I think I can. Are we in white? I got Auriok Salvager's LED. Okay, I got that. I got Dockside Extortion's Cloudstone Curio. Okay, I got that. Look up and refine the best method of infinite mana in Mardu. And you'll find that Awaken the Blood Avatar is a great way to damage out the board, right? Mind you, this needs to be on your turn, on your combat step. However, if you have infinite mana, you can cast Awaken the Blood Lord infinite times, win with a bunch of 3/6s, and not even on damage, because on the attack, these girls are just hitting everyone for 3. So you don't even need, what do you need? What is the requisite here? 12, 37. You don't need to do this infinitely is what I'm saying. You just need to do this enough. You need to do this enough and attack with these avatars. And Aang is going to do the rest of the work for you. Like, this is very, very cool. The front end of this card is a nice value piece. I'm not sure it's advisable to cast that because, again, you do need to use the back end infinitely as an outlet. So how often you actually cast Extus is questionable. It's an interesting value piece, but not interesting enough to ruin your chances of winning the game with Awaken the Blood Avatar. But yeah, that's it. That is it for Strixhaven School of Mages. Did I cover everything? Did I miss anything? Let me know in the comment section down below how you evaluated the cards we mentioned today. And of course, any cards I neglected to mention, shame on me. But Extus looks dope. There's a couple legendaries from the set that look really dope, but a majority of the real catch cards happen to be multicolored. And please, please, Cursed Mirror. If I didn't mention how good it is, did I write it? I didn't even write it down. Shame on me. Cursed Mirror. Buy a copy of Cursed Mirror. It is a fantastic card and likely to be used in a lot of red lists moving forward. It's just good value. But guys, as we do with every video here on the channel, I'd like to thank one random lucky Patreon member. And this week's Patreon member is Lucas Scoff. Lucas is one of our Brew Crew members and new to the Patreon. Thank you, Lucas, for joining up and becoming a member of the 99 Brew Baby crew. You are among the best. And for his thoughts on the monthly topic, I'll be reading for Brewmaster, Nettlesome Reflection. My favorite defining characteristic of cEDH, and the reason I started playing cEDH, is the transparency of power level. The little C in the cEDH covers your entire turn 0 conversation. All is fair game. Play your hardest. Opinions may vary on what a cEDH deck does, but you'll never sit down at a cEDH table with mismatched expectations, unlike casual tables which are notorious for imbalanced deck power. Honestly, I think competitive is a misnomer, as I've been at casual tables that felt very aggressive, competitive, and salty. No thanks. And that will do it for this video. Thank you for joining me on another set review of both Strixhaven School of Mages as well as the C21 commanders. Do you plan on buying any of those pre-cons? Are you going to be attending any pre-releases or setting up any drafts at home? I would love to know in the comment section down below. But again, my name is Patrick Marlett, and happy brewing, babies.